One of the most important principles in the psychology of reasoning is called motivated reasoning. So there's a general principle, as William James put it, thinking is for doing. We don't just think to find the truth unless that's what we're trying to do specifically. In general, we think to get something done, and that thing is usually social. That is, we're always concerned to look good in the eyes of others. We're always concerned to help our team win and to make it clear that we're on our team's side and we're against the other side. And you can get in real trouble if people suspect that you're not loyal to your team. So our thinking is extremely motivated by self-interest, reputational concern, and partisan or tribal or other group identities. Interesting research from Dan Kahan at Yale and David Perkins, at Harvard, shows that as people go up in IQ, they're better at reasoning, but only at finding reasons on their side. You get better and better as a lawyer, but people are terrible at finding reasons on the other side. And so this is the general rule, motivated reasoning. And so if you put a bunch of people together that are all on the same team and you ask them to find the truth around something that matters to them, they cannot do it. They will be abysmal at it. And so this is the genius of a university and of a jury. In a university setting, in the academic setting, the way I refer to it is institutionalized disconfirmation. We all have the confirmation bias, which means we're using all of our IQ, we're using all of our thinking to confirm what we already believe or want to believe. It's almost impossible. So, you think scientists are out there looking for the truth? Not as individuals, they're not. They came up with an idea, and they're so excited about their idea, and they want to publish their idea. They want it to be true. Fortunately, a scientific community is structured so that one scientist puts something out there, and he knows he's going to be accountable, so he'd better be sure. So he's careful. So he puts it out there, and then 17 people critique him. And then in the process, if you have good norms, and philosophers have the best norms I have ever seen. Philosophers, they don't make you into a straw man, they read the footnotes. Philosophers have an amazing set of norms for talking together so that the truth can emerge from the interaction of these flawed individuals. In many other areas of the academy, things get more personal, there's more straw man type arguments. So once you see that as individuals, we're all really kind of stupid, but if you put us together in the right way so that we all are guaranteed institutional disconfirmation because of the institutional setting, and that could be a jury too, then something amazing happens, which is that all of our confirmation biases cancel each other out. And the group is actually brilliant. And so it's sort of like our brains. Our brains are made of lots of neurons. Each neuron's really stupid. It just fires or doesn't fire, fires or doesn't fire. That's all it does. But if you put the neurons together in the right way, patterns get matched and then something bigger comes out. So this is what I want to emphasize over and over again, that a university is special because it is one of the only places where we have institutionalized disconfirmation. And if that breaks down, then that whole field of scholarship has broken down and is not reliable and cannot be trusted and cannot be used to give policy recommendations. My favorite philosopher, so I spent a wonderful year at Princeton in 2006, 2007 with Anthony at the Center for Human Values.
We travel, in the same.
It's totally coincidental, but
yeah, we're actually the same
places.
Yeah.
And back then, my favorite philosopher was David Hume, as I was an intuitionist. Yeah. But now, given recent political events, my favorite philosopher is John Stuart Mill. And
who was already my favorite philosopher.
That's right, you were there before me too. It's only because you're a little older than me, so I just keep following in your footsteps. So raise your hand if you have ever read On Liberty. Raise your hand high. Wow. Is it assigned here in some courses, obviously? That's great. So On Liberty, it's not a very long book, but it's kind of a dense book. And so when I reread it, in fact, I first read it at Princeton. When I reread it, I realized, my God, the second chapter, there are 5 chapters, the second chapter is the most brilliant thing ever written about free speech. He anticipates all the arguments we have on campus as to why we, sure, free speech, but not for that, no platform this, we can't have that. Mill anticipated them all in 1859 and has the most brilliant responses. And so I just want to read one section, which I think should be emblazoned on the wall of every university, every seminar class. And this is a roundabout way of getting back to what Anthony said about identities and what we are able to do because people with different identities have different perspectives. They can do each other a favor, but we have to look to make sure that they truly have different perspectives. So here's the quote. You may have heard, I'm sure you've heard this, but he who knows only his own side of the case knows little of that. His reasons may be good, and no one may have been able to refute them. But if he is equally unable to refute the reasons on the opposite side, if he does not so much as know what they are, he has no ground for preferring either opinion. In other words, if it hasn't been through institutionalized disconfirmation, you have no idea if it's true. You're going to believe it if you like it, and your friends will validate that view, but you're probably wrong about a lot of the things you believe most fervently. And the only cure for that is viewpoint diversity. So now I'd like to ask in this room, so first, raise your hand if you're an undergrad here, if you're a student here at Middlebury. Okay, great. So if all of you just raise your hands, I'd like to know whether you consider yourself to be on the left, on the right, in the center, or libertarian. Those are your 4 options. Some of you won't fit into a box, but I'd like to find out whether you...
You should probably ask them to close their eyes before they...
Actually,
They may not want each other to know.
well, actually, maybe we should. You know what? Let's do that, and I'll do that. You have to promise. Can I make you all swear that you will close your eyes? And we will report back the results. Okay?
We're not closing our eyes. Let me just...
Yeah, no, we're not. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So on the count of 3, everybody in the whole room, including the people who are not students, everybody close your eyes. Please close your eyes. Now I'm going to look around and make sure that you're really complying. Some of you are not. Okay, close your eyes. Okay. Now, please raise your hand if you would say that you're on the left politically, left, liberal, or Democrat. Okay. Raise your hand if you're on the right or conservative or Republican. Okay. And raise your hand if you're in the center. Okay. And raise your hand if you are libertarian. Okay. All right. So there were about 5 conservatives, 5 libertarians, about maybe 15 centrists, and then, 70 or 80, what would you say, people on the left?
Something like that.
Okay, so this is very typical for a college audience at an elite school, which is a left-right ratio of something on the order of 10 to 1, 20 to 1, something like that. And what that means is that there might be a variety of identities in the classroom, but if you're talking about anything that's politically valenced, the odds are that there are between 0 and 2 people who hold a different view, and that they're not going to say anything because they're intimidated. I hear this over and over again, and surveys show it too. A survey we did at Heterodox Academy, when we ask about whether people feel free to speak up in class, people who are on the left say yes, people who are on the right say no, but here's the amazing thing. People who say that they're in the center or libertarian are right there with the conservatives. And people who say that they're just a little left of center are right there with the conservatives. So it's only people who are on the far left who feel comfortable speaking up in class. So what you see, what you hear in your seminar classes is not even a reflection of who is there. It's a reflection of who feels comfortable voicing their opinions. I'm just stopping there for effect, like let the silence. But what? People, perfect.
So,
exhibit A. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in the Q&A.
He was planted just to make your point for you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's a genuine problem, right? Because and it isn't. It isn't the same problem everywhere. I mean, there are other. This is just one of the countries in the world.
At a big state school, it's not like this.
Right.
But at a small college in New England, this is very typical.
Yeah.
it's not like this at the U.S. Naval Academy,
The
where
US
I
Naval
visited
Academy,
recently,
yes.
where they're very free-flowing political conversation in class.
Yes, and where probably the balance is the other way.
No,
The balance is
no.
quite, it's actually
50-50.
It's
fairly
never-
even,
Yeah.
really.
When I speak at conservative places, it's like 60 or it's like maybe 2 to
Yeah.
1, 3 to 1.
Yeah.
But the military is not anything like the mirror image of an Ivy League or small
No,
college.
No, it's not. I guess I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
just to say though, I mean, what that means is that if you're going to do if you think Mill's right, that the way to test ideas is to face them up to serious arguments against them.
Yes.
And if you recognize how much motivated reasoning we engage in, then the most likely way to get good exposure to the arguments on the other side is not to try to think them up for yourself.
That's right.
Is to find someone who actually thinks they're the right arguments.
Yeah.
I hope, John was very kind about my discipline. I hope that in our discipline we do try to train people to think about, well, if you write a paper and all the arguments are on the side of the thesis, that's a bad paper, right? You've got to have thought about. And if you can't find somebody out there who's got arguments against it because you're working on something new and interesting, then you've got to make them up for yourself.
It's very hard.
And that's hard. And it's hard, especially when it's about one of these tribal things. It may be a bit easier if it's about string theory or
Although I'm told that can get tribal too. So we're focused on the left-right divide, but in many academic disciplines, devotees of one theorist it's the same psychology of tribalism. It can get nasty.
It's true.